Hey, this is Tuan Aditya from LightHaven. Today I want to talk about how we approach empty hand hacking in Pekiti Tirsia Kali. First, let's understand why this hacking motion is so prevalent and so important in the Filipino martial arts. The hack is derived from this backhand diagonal strike that you find so commonly used across the Filipino martial arts and across the weapon systems that we have in these martial arts. If I have a weapon, it can be a slash or a thrust, and if I'm empty hands, that becomes my hack. It's also a very versatile movement, both in terms of explaining principles to people as well as an application. So a simple example of a principle that we can use the hack to explain is the bladed hand principle. I had kept hearing this saying across the different weapon-based martial arts that I had done, but never really experienced it until Filipino martial arts. The same way that I use the blade is the same way that I use my empty hands. And the Filipino martial arts, what that means is that especially when it comes to the hacking motion, I can use this hack as a finger jab. I can use this hack as almost a slash where I'm using this area of my forearm and my wrist, or I can use it almost like a thrust or a frame across my opponent's body where I'm using even more of my forearm all the way from here. So I'm using the tip of the blade as well as the edge of the blade. We're going to be learning to develop the hack in what, at least in my opinion, is the most effective way of using it, which is in a thrusting motion that almost ends up as a frame across my opponent, which then opens him up for further attacks. First, let's just start by learning the basic movement of how to apply the hack in this way. We're going to start by putting our palms together, then our forearms together, and then we're going to stick our elbows to our bodies. So everything is together. And now I want the tips of my fingers to be sort of in line with my nose. From here, I'm going to open my elbows so that they're in sort of a 45-degree angle, and then I'm going to open my wrists while my fingers are still in contact with each other, so that my wrists and my forearms are in the same line, not like this and not like this, so they're in the same line. And now I want the tips of my fingers again to be somewhere close to in line with my nose. This is my basic guard that I'm going to function with right now. This is like a triangular empty hand guard that you can function with, at least for now. Once you understand how much you can and cannot extend, then you can switch to whatever guard you want. But for now, we're going to choose this as our sort of triangular guard. It's very important to understand how much we need to extend and what is the relationship of our hack slash forearm to center line. So we're going to start from here, and I'm going to give you a really easy way of measuring it. I'm going to turn my hip and I'm going to extend my scapula a little bit in front so that my wrist and forearms are sort of from here to here. Just go past center line enough that my other hand is now in line with my wrist. So if you can see, if I connect the two, you can see this triangle here. If I extend more than this and that, then my fingers will be pointing at my forearm. I don't want that. I want my fingers pointing at my wrist. That's it. That's as much as I'm going to extend. I'm going to turn my hip, extend my scapula, and that's as much as I'm going to extend. Now let's see this movement on the bag. An easy way of thinking of this movement, instead of a chop in this fashion, is a thrusting scrape somewhere in the middle. Now what I mean by that is I still want my fingers to be moving in a straight line across center line. I obviously cannot go straight into the bag like this. It's still going diagonally across center line, but I am scraping from here to here with what I would call the edge of my blade, not the flat of the forearm, but this bony part of the forearm. And so instead of me chopping like that, I want to thrust into the bag. And so it's a slightly different motion. It's a scrape or a thrust. I can go, and if you can see the bag turning this way because the energy is going like this. Or I have seen it used like this, but it's not something that I like to use it as. You can go straight in with that forearm, almost like a frame across the body. The reason I prefer the scrape is because it allows me to cause a lot more pain when I'm doing this across someone's neck. It's a very jarring, painful motion when you're doing this to someone's neck, and it leads to the frame anyway. I still will have that frame across my opponent's body, from which it really depends on what I want to do from there, whether I follow it up with an elbow, the other elbow, a slap, a punch, some sort of grapple, clinch technique. It's really up to me. It's still giving me that frame, but it's also causing an extra layer of pain by scraping. Really, it's like an impact slash scrape across my opponent's neck. So we're going to assume that sort of triangle guard. From here, I'm going to step with my left leg and strike with my right hand. I'm going to come back home. I'm going to step with my right leg and strike with my left hand. I'm going to come back home, again the other side, come back home. The first thing to watch out for is make sure you're not doing a chopping motion, this karate chop motion. It's a thrusting motion and not a chopping motion. The next thing to watch out for is do not overextend. So when I'm thrusting, do not go like this, and especially with the arm straight. We don't want to straighten the arm. Don't get overzealous and straighten the arm. We still want to maintain structure. Just standing here and going is all right, but I can get more power and more penetration by stepping in with it and adding my weight behind the strike. The last thing to watch out for is remembering what part of the arm you are striking with. Now again, this goes back to our bladed hand principle. We are striking with this bone, and we have a bunch of tempering methods in Pekiti by which we're trying to strengthen this bone, make it harder. But we're striking with the bone and not with the flat of the hand. Once you're sort of comfortable with this basic motion from the triangle guard, the triangle guard we use basically so that you know not to extend past this point. Don't overextend this. Once you have that down and you understand that in your body, then you can shift to any sort of guard you want and do the same sort of thrusting motion with my hands here, with my hands wherever. You don't have to use that triangle guard anymore. The triangle guard was just there to give you a good reference point as to how much you should extend, how much you should go across center line. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. If you have anything to add to the conversation, leave that in the comments down below. Any questions or requests, also please leave that in the comments down below. All of these things really do help out the school and the channel a lot. A huge thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to know more about our Patreon page, check out the link I'm going to leave in the description down below. Lastly, our online classes are up and running. Our residential program is up and running. So to train with us either online or with us in person in Goa, check out the email address I'm going to leave in the link down below. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.